I'd like to call the City of Elkhorn Common Council February 5th, 5:30 meeting to order. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Bruce Lechner.
Here.
Tim Sharota is absent. Gary Payson Jr.
Here.
Ron Dunwoody is absent. Scott McClory.
Here.
Ken Minell.
Here.
Carol Young. Here.
Next, we have public comment. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes each. The public may speak in any item of the city concern, whether or not the topic is included on this agenda. However, if the topic does not pertain to an item listed on the council agenda, the council is not permitted to address or discuss the matter during this meeting. Under open meeting laws, the council must notice an item on the agenda to allow discussion on that matter. If council is not permitted to discuss your concerns, your comments will be considered and may be placed on a future agenda for further discussion. Anybody here for public comment tonight? Okay, we'll move on to consent agenda. We have the legislative and regulatory meeting minutes, January 15th, 2024. Common Council meeting minutes, January 15th and 18th, 2024. A temporary Class B beer and Class B wine license for Friends of Matheson Memorial Library at 203 East Walworth Street. Chamber business after hours, March 7th, 2024, 5 to 7 p.m. And temporary Class B beer licenses for the Walworth County Agricultural Society at the Walworth County Fairgrounds Rodeos. See attached list of event dates and times. Council, do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve all on the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, discussion, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed on the consent agenda items A, B, C, and D. Next, report of city officers. I do have one thing. I did receive a letter today that was asked to be read in, so I'd just like to read it. It's, Dear Mayor, today I officially retired after approximately 47 years and the last approximate 24 years as fire chief. I have proudly served the citizens of the city of Elkhorn, towns of Geneva, Lafayette, and Sugar Creek for during those 47 years. I thank you and past mayors, current and past council members for their support over the years. I wish you all the best in the future. Best wishes, retired Fire Chief Rod Smith. I just wanted to read that in, and that's all I had tonight. Adam?
I'm going to start off by actually turning it to the police chief just to do an update on last week. Chief, if you have anything to report about last Thursday's incident downtown and then also over the weekend.
I guess, unfortunately, I can't share a lot at this time. We're still in the initial and early phases of the investigation. And so at this moment, I can't share much more than what has previously been shared, unfortunately.
And if anybody in the community has any tips or additional information, who should they reach out to?
They can reach out right to us at the Elkhorn Police Department. Otherwise, the Walworth County Crime Stoppers, and they can also do it electronically online and remain anonymous.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just some other quick updates. We had a meeting, some city staff members had a meeting with Walworth County Food and Diver Bank, talk about a potential new facility here in the business park. They'll be coming to do a presentation to council next month. We had a meeting with Dave Patzold of Shodine Group about potential residential development in the city. We also had a meeting with Mark Perry of Community Action about a new potential shelter on the south side of the city. They too will be coming to a future council meeting to get council's, a preliminary feedback on their idea. The PSC announced last week that they did approve the new water rate increase. So those rates will take effect March 1st and will appear on bills that our city customers receive in May. And then right now we are working on, city staff is working on a Q&A about the city's water supply to address some of the concerns that we've been getting over the last few weeks. So that will be disseminated online. So I just wanted to make council aware of that. Those are my quick updates. I don't know if council has any questions for me.
Council? No. Can everybody hear back there okay? No? No? Matt, can you turn up the volumes for the speakers? Is that
Try
better?
the plus symbol by your microphone to see if that'll work.
Test, 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 test. I think we
Can
just
you-
have to
Is
lean-
that better?
Maybe just have to lean in a little bit.
Yep. Okay. I thought I seen a couple that couldn't hear, so I just want to make sure. Next on the agenda, we have the presentation, Michelle Schultz with the Safe Haven Baby Box. Michelle, if you need to come to the podium or the desk, whatever you prefer, and just, if you can speak into the microphone good for everybody.
Good evening. Am I on?
Yep, just pull a
Okay.
little closer and it'll be good for you.
All right. Thank you for having me. I am here to request the City Council's permission to install a Safe Haven baby box in the south wall of the Elkhorn Area Fire Department building on Broad Street. On March 4th, 2023, a baby boy was found dead in Whitewater. He was born to a mother in crisis, married with children, separated due to abuse. The child she gave birth to on January 27th was not her husband's. She feared that she would lose her children, or maybe worse. She chose to do the unthinkable. She gave birth quietly in the bathtub. She watched this infant struggle to breathe and die. She placed him in a garbage bag. She stuffed him under the sink, eventually putting him in a cardboard box. She discarded him. She said she drove by every day and cried. His body was found about a month later. This story shook me. I am the chair of the Human Concerns and Community Outreach Committee at St. Patrick's Church, and we set out to find a way to make sure this never happens again. Like every state, Wisconsin has had safe haven laws on the books for over 20 years. That safe haven law required face-to-face relinquishment to a first responder or medical professional. We instantly felt that bar was too high. A quick Google search revealed safe haven baby boxes and the impressive accomplishment that since baby boxes began being installed in Indiana, there has not been a single infant death due to abandonment in their state. That became our goal here. We reached out to State Representative Ellen Schutt, who is here with us tonight. She introduced an amendment to Wisconsin's safe haven law on June 28th, my birthday. Complete accident. Her bill quickly passed through committee in both the state Senate and Assembly, and in what might be considered a modern-day miracle, passed unanimously on the floor of both chambers. I was thrilled to be invited to watch Governor Evers sign the bill in early December, making infant safety devices legal in Wisconsin. Matt, can you play the video? We've got a video explaining how the boxes work. I could keep going too.
Just want to make sure I found the right one. This is the one that you'd like.
When a parent walks up to one of our Safe Haven baby boxes, all they have to do is walk up to the door, open the door, take the orange bag, place the infant inside, shut the door, and walk away. Safe Haven Baby Box is an extension of the already existing Safe Haven law that's literally been around for the last 22 years in America. For the last 22 years, women can walk into fire stations or hospitals, hand their newborn child to one of the workers there, turn around and walk away. This allows that same process to continue, but for a parent to do it anonymously. It's so important to have an anonymous surrender as an option. We're not telling every parent to use it. We're saying this is there if you need it. We would rather you walk in and hand the child to a person. But if you can't do that, here's a box. You know, once it's installed and it's operational, the box actually calls 911 on its own. And they walk away knowing that this child is going to be picked up in an average of about 2 minutes. The fire station, when they get a baby, it goes to the hospital and then gets transferred either to an adoption agency or to the Department of Child Services. I almost feel guilty for saying this, because how blessed am I that I was abandoned as an infant and now I'm saving abandoned children. The passion truly comes back to that story. My passion and my drive. Getting to meet my biological mother when I was 37 years old gave me the empathy that I needed to be able to work with these moms. The best part of my job is knowing that I'm helping these moms. This is their decision to make, and they've made a good decision. You basically said, I want what's best for my child, and it's not me, and that is heroic. Is it without pain? No, no, there's pain involved in this situation. But at the end of the day, the birth mom's life goes on, the baby's life goes on, and a set of adoptive parents who've been praying for a child for many years gets the call that they've been waiting for.
The new law allows 100% anonymity, so crucial in our rural state. These boxes are temperature controlled, have multiple layers of alarms, and can only be placed in buildings that are staffed 24/7 with first responders. The new law requires a camera inside the box to monitor the baby, but never on the outside to identify the relinquishing parent. We hope that at a minimum, every county in Wisconsin eventually has at least one baby box, but we feel strongly that Elkhorn is a perfect location for what might be the first baby box in Wisconsin. Our fire station is centrally located on an easily accessible but not too public thoroughfare in our city that is ideally situated at the intersection of major highways. Indiana baby boxes have had many relinquishments coming from Illinois, where there is safe haven but no baby boxes. We want this project to be a true community and ecumenical endeavor. We reached out to local contractors and donors. My husband, a masonry contractor, is on board. He will take good care of your building and make it look like the box has always been there. Adams Electric and actually multiple other electricians are willing to handle the electrical and HVAC. The $16,000 we need up front is not an insignificant amount, but we found that this is the easiest fundraising we've ever done. Over a half dozen local churches are working with us. The Elkhorn Rotary, local businesses, the Cunis Family Foundation, pro-life groups, and private citizens have all donated or made commitments. We've had $3,000 donations from working class families and $10 or $20 pressed into our hands from little old men on fixed incomes. This is a project our community is behind. This isn't a left or right or pro or anti anything. This is just the right thing to do. Safe haven baby boxes are not a perfect solution. They don't solve any of the problems that might lead a person to give up a child. But I am never one to let the perfect stand in the way of the good. Safe haven baby boxes are a last resort, but about more than boxes and fire stations. The boxes are pointless if people in crisis don't know about this option. If you approve this installation, our work will just begin. We are committed to doing public outreach and community education for as long as it takes to make infant deaths due to abandonment a thing of the past. This outreach includes working with our schools, billboards, posters in places of employment, bars, and restaurants. There is a 24/7 hotline for parents in crisis, and this hotline offers healthcare information, conventional adoption information, crisis pregnancy center, and mental health referrals. Safe Haven Baby Box hotline has facilitated the safe haven for about 200 infants in 8 years, some to conventional adoption, some to face-to-face handoffs, and roughly 40 relinquishments in baby boxes. The city of Elkhorn has a tremendous opportunity to do something huge with zero cost to taxpayers. Donors will pay every cent of installation. St. Patrick's Human Concerns and our Knights of Columbus have offered to pay ongoing costs, which include inspections, alarm fees, and utility costs. I've spoken with Chief Christensen. I met with Chief Smith in December. I met with Assistant Chief Eichmann in January. I've spoken with Walworth County Sheriff Dave Gerber. All are on board for the tremendous good for the community and for their first responders. Can you imagine what it might do to our police or firefighters to find a dead baby? We need you, our city council, to allow us to bring this project home to our community for the benefit of all Walworth County and potentially every baby born into crisis within driving distance. We can't know all the reasons that would lead a parent to choose to relinquish their infant. We can't know when or if our box would ever be used. I can tell you on January 10th, Madison, Alabama dedicated their Safe Haven baby box. On January 22nd, 12 days later, they received their first baby. Our community can provide a safe, legal, loving choice, just in case. Can you imagine that joy? Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Council members, do you have any questions? Any discussion? I know we can't make a decision on this because it's not on the agenda as a decision, but I would like to have this on the next agenda so we could make a decision.
Yep, I agree.
But if council member agree with that,
Yep, agreed.
Wonderful. Thank you.
thank you, Michelle. So Lacey, can we make sure this is on for decision next meeting?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you again, Michelle, for everything. Next, we have Jason Roberts, DNR Safety Warden. Questions and answers regarding authority of cities to permit use of ATV and UTVs on city streets. Jason, welcome. Hi there. Thank you for coming down.
Or what?
Sit or stand, whatever you prefer.
Okay.
Just as long as you're nearby the microphone.
Right,
Thanks
on.
for coming down and helping us out on this, what we're going through for maybe making an ordinance for UTVs and stuff.
Yeah, you guys are not unique.
No. So I know council just, if there's any question you want to start with, or maybe Jay, can you give a little background history on how it's been going in cities and?
Well, I guess, to start off from the beginning, inherently ATVs, UTVs are built and constructed for off-road use. But the reason we're here is that there's been an expanding of their use onto the roadways throughout the entire state. Initially, it was a northern issue, northern Wisconsin. It was a western Wisconsin issue in the interest of connecting existing trail systems for people to get from a hotel or a restaurant to their trail system. Well, since in the last 10 to 15 years, the interest has been to use recreational vehicles or ATVs and UTVs as we'll say a secondary mode of transportation, another way to operate on the roadways. And since then, their use on the roadway has expanded. I don't even know if we have an official number. It's over 40,000 miles of roadways and that number was taken 5 years ago. And there's been an immense amount of expansion of use on the roadways. I don't even know where it's at now, but they've expanded and they're being used on the roadways throughout not only the north and the west, but now here in the southeastern part of the state where we contend with far more traffic than you do typically in the western and northern parts of the state. On average, and to back up, the legislator did a good thing in the sense that they allowed you folks, the local municipalities and local bodies of government, to make the call on whether they want to expand or open up their roadway systems, as opposed to the state coming in and dictating what they can and can't do. From an accident standpoint and an issue from a LE perspective and issues and complaint perspective, there certainly has been a tick up in complaints that are related to ATVs and UTVs when roadways are opened, because everyone's not going to be in total agreement. There are complaints with sound. There are laws that address how loud machines can be. There's sound. There's trespass issues that occur, more so in the more rural parts of the counties and townships that open. Not so much. The only thing I can compare what you guys are looking at doing here would be like the city of Whitewater, which has expanded and opened their city streets to ATV and UTV use. It's mostly youthful operation, younger people riding on the roads. But you as a body here, through your municipal code process, you can probably address some of those concerns by maybe limiting who operates on the road. The state is fairly liberal in who can ride an ATV. You just have to be 12 years old to drive an ATV by state law. But a lot of municipalities have taken the tact of requiring driver's licenses and insurance, liability, paperwork, in creating a more expansive and limiting operation by hours, things like that, to address the issues. Accidents in general, I would say about half of all of our accidents, if you go back the last 5 years, we have between 25 and 50 fatal incidents every year with ATVs and UTVs. And about half of those are typically on the roadway, whether they're illegally riding on a road or they're actually operating on a road route that was approved by a municipality. So about half of our accidents are typically related to road operation, and that stems from, they are inherently off-road machines. People can make modifications to their machine now so that it's more appropriate for road, but the low-pressure tires, the big aggressive tread patterns that are on these machines are built for the mud and the dirt and maybe the gravel, not necessarily the paved surface. So that's a little history there. Any questions?
Council members?
I do have a question.
Sure.
Okay, because I've been, kind of researching some of this. And one place said that they were having an issue with like kids riding in the back and not having seatbelts on. Are those rules the same for an ATV, UTV as for a car?
Yes, when you're operating a UTV, so like the bucket seat type machines, by state law, every passenger is required to wear a seatbelt, similar to a motor vehicle. The operator does not, by state law, is not required to wear one. That's just a little nuance that's born out of it being used more in a rural setting on a farm on private property. That's an instance where maybe the legislator needs to catch up with how they're being used now. But to answer your question, yeah, seatbelts are required of all passengers on UTVs, and of course ATVs wouldn't have seatbelts; they're just straddled.
Do you have any information on how many of the fatalities turned out to be alcohol or drug related?
Yes, I don't know it off the top of my head, but if you just type Wisconsin DNR, all our fatal statistics, including whether alcohol was a factor, are in there. I will say generally it is a contributing factor, especially on the private lands. We tend to see a lot of impaired operation. On the ice as well, we get people go through ice, through water, things like that. But it is significant. It is not insignificant.
Do you happen to know how many of the Whitewater police tickets have been issued since they allowed them to go live, if you will, with their operation about a year ago?
No, I don't know that.
Okay.
I know we've written a few tickets here and there as wardens, but there aren't a whole lot of us. There are only about 2 of us per county statewide. So we wrote a few tickets for some requirements, some registration and things like that, but nothing careless related.
Chief Christensen, did you happen to reach out to Delavan or Whitewater and ask them if they've seen any issues or problems?
They have not today, but again, it's kind of in the infancy for both of those municipalities as well.
Okay, but they haven't seen any uptick or anything? I mean, nothing to date.
Correct.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Can you explain for everybody here the difference between ATV and UTV and whether some of these ordinances treat the 2 different types differently in the ordinance?
Typically, the ATVs and UTVs should be similar as far as their operational ordinances, like how they're operated. The only difference is a UTV is the one that you think of, not when you think of, it's actually defined as the bucket seat, steering wheel, roll cage over the top. That is a UTV, whereas an ATV is what you think of with the 4 tires and the straddled with the steering handlebar, the handlebar tree, similar to like a motorcycle. Whereas the UTV, you sit in a bucket seat with a cross 3-point seat belt restraint along with a steering wheel.
And the licensing for those?
By state law, there isn't much required. All you need is a DNR safety certification, which is an online class, about 4 hours of material. You get certification, and a 12-year-old can operate on a roadway or a trail system or on the ice or private property at 12 years old. A UTV, that is the one distinction, a UTV does have a more restrictive age operation that is 16 years old.
So any of these ordinances, are they limiting these to UTVs as opposed to both?
Well, by state statute, if you open your roads to ATV or UTV, it has to be both. You cannot, the way the statute's written, I know some municipalities have deviated from that, but if you actually look at the language, if it's open for both.
And a 12-year-old could be on a public street driving one of these? You're saying that would be legal if we pass this ordinance?
Yes, if you would just adopt state law, a 12-year-old can operate. However, there's one nuance to that. A 12 to 15-year-old does need to be supervised. So somebody has to be watching them or riding alongside them on a roadway from 12 to 15.
But no state law would prevent us from passing an ordinance that would require it to be a licensed 16 and up person.
That's kind of a legal question that I haven't gotten in the way of when people and municipalities have limited. I will say you're an attorney, looking at the language identifies the municipality's requirement to adopt in strict conformity. But I will say I don't know of many municipalities that do adopt in strict conformity, and it's in the interest of public safety in most instances.
I wasn't able to find any restriction that kept us from doing that. And typically when when you're dealing with ordinances in conjunction with state law, municipalities are able to do things that are more restrictive, more safety oriented, but not less. That's the typical approach. I will research that further, but I don't think that we'd be prevented from doing that.
And you think we'd be aligned with state law that we could enact our ordinances to reflect that they have to be licensed drivers, they have to have insurance like a car, et cetera?
The 16 and up is what I was referring to.
Right.
I'd have to go into a little bit more detail to find out the other answers about insurance and so forth. But
Right.
certainly you'd want to make sure that they'd have the insurance so that if there was an accident, there would be
Right.
liability there.
But absent a law saying they required it, like we have now with cars, now granted, there are people that drive without insurance, but it's against the law.
Right.
I would expect that if we went down this path, we would require some of the similar requirements for automobiles, insurance, licensed drivers, et cetera.
Sure, I understand the sentiment, and I'll make sure that there's nothing to prevent us from doing so.
For, let's say 15 and under, are they required to wear helmets, state law, anytime or no?
Yes, anyone
fit-
under 18 would be required.
Anybody under 18 has to wear a helmet, even
Yes.
the passenger?
Yes, the only exemptions would be hunting and fishing purposes or on your own private property, you wouldn't be required. But on the roadways, if you're under 18, whether it's an ATV or UTV, you have to have a DOT helmet.
What grants the local municipalities or the DNR to inspect a vehicle operating on the roadway if we pass such an ordinance? For example, you're driving a semi-truck. Current state law allows police officers that are truck inspectors to come in and pull you over just because you're driving a truck. What do we have that would be similar if someone simply is operating a UTV or ATV on a city street? Like make sure they have their inspection sticker, or they've gone to the class that they're required to, or they have their seatbelt on, et cetera. What kinds of enforcement supports that?
There would be none. There's no inspection authority. It would be a normal probable cause contact,
Okay,
like any law, yeah.
okay.
So if they didn't have their sticker, or not wearing a seatbelt, that could be,
Certainly, yes. No license plate, no registration decal, no lights on, all state requirements.
What do the current municipalities in our county that do allow them on the roadways, what are they currently allowing for operation as far as hours go, from what time to what time?
it's on right in your screeners, 5 to 11 is the county.
Countywide.
Yep, city and county roads are.
And there's nobody that's deviated from that locally then? They've just adopted the state statute? Ward looks like he's about to say something.
Well, I was just wondering, in light of if you were legal on the roadway, and I mean, typically people go out and they go together and then they go to a bar or restaurant or something, and if they didn't leave at 11 p.m., would that be a violation? I don't know that answer.
Yes.
Yeah, I would think the answer is yes, if I'm reading this correctly.
They can't be riding it out.
They can't ride after 11.
So
That's a good question, so be home.
And the county kind of asked if the municipality stuff would keep that, so it's more uniform, so everybody kind of knows. 'Cause
I'll just add that, I mean, one of the purposes of that language, and I can share that with you about the strict conformity concept, is because of the complexity of moving from township to village and having different requirements as you move townships and cities, that's very challenging for the operator, moving from maybe, the town of Sugar Creek now entering into your city limits, and now all of a sudden they need this, it'd be like having a motor vehicle, expecting to know not just the speed limit change, but hey, when I enter into the city, I need to have something different than I need when I'm on a different road. So that's one of the reasons that language put into place. I can tell you that the hour restriction, that one is actually specifically affirmed in statute that you can restrict hours for ATV road routes. And that has primarily been what I've seen out there. I've seen some 10 o'clock ones, but that seems fairly consistent with what is going on in the county.
The only thing I'd add is just that the city of Whitewater, their ordinance, it's restricted from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. And they did actually require in their ordinance that operators had to have applicable liability insurance, and it says that they also required anyone who's operating an ATV or UTV to have a valid driver's license. So whether or not they were allowed to do that, I don't know, but that is in their ordinance, so.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
Council members, any other questions for Jason? Or any?
I know initially when the county board supervisor came before us, the initial presentation at that time was to basically create, for lack of a better term, an easement so that they could get from one township to the other by way of the city. And it looks like now we're talking about a completely different animal, where we're talking about access to all city streets and city roads, not just a little easement point to get you into the town of Sugar Creek from Elkhorn. Am I correct? I believe that gentleman's still here. Yeah.
Absolutely, that was my initial.
Yeah.
But the intent was, as I said, that we should open up the city as I referenced Delavan and I referenced Whitewater.
Okay.
If you recall.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions right now? I know it's coming up on the agenda after their next thing here. So if we want to move on if there's no other further questions for Jason or the chief or anybody.
I'm good.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. If you could just hang around a few more minutes, we do have another topic and then we'll be talking about it, just in case they think of something, if it'd be perfect.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Step back or hang here? What?
You can hang right there, that's fine, it's coming up real quick. So next we have the committee report, L&R.
Alrighty, we met on January 15th, and the topic of discussion is the child safety zone maps. The committee made a motion to leave the child safety zone maps as is.
Okay. Thank you, Ken.
Yep.
Next, unfinished business, discussion and possible decision regarding drafting a city ordinance for authorized use of ATV, UTVs on city streets. Council, do you feel we should be moving forward with drafting and have our city attorney look at drafting an ordinance and bringing it back, or?
I would like to make a motion to have the city attorney do just that.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to move forward with having the city attorney draft a city ordinance. Ward, when do you think you could have that?
Can I ask a question?
I suppose.
Sorry. Do you want to open it up to all city streets, or are you looking for certain city streets?
All, that's part of my motion, all.
Okay.
I agree.
For all in, we have all, and we have a second, right, Ken? You're good?
Yes.
Okay with all?
Yes.
Okay. Chief, go ahead.
Irregardless of speed limit is my next question.
Oh, good question.
Well, that's the one that is separate. It's anything 35 and under that we can do. Then there has to be some research on anything over 35, as I recall. Right?
So you're saying 35 miles per hour or less? Is that
35 miles an hour and less to start with, and then we have to research the other ones.
Right. I agree.
So I should consider in the ordinance that I'm going to be drafting, the idea of above and then put it in the alternative is what you're suggesting. Okay, I just want to make sure I understood what I was drafting.
Just so you you know, I would be opposed to anything greater than 35. I don't think, in the interest of public safety, that's in anyone's best interest.
Right, well, the ATVs wouldn't be allowed to do over 35 regardless. Is that similar things you've seen, Jason?
Yeah, I've just, I think, did we have this discussion? I'm trying to remember who I spoke with, but, so the 35 mile per hour, limit would be the roads that are 35 or less are open to
Correct.
traffic? Okay.
In the city, I don't think there's
Yeah,
anything
most
about
of them in the
35 in the
city
city.
are under 30, 35 or under, to get around the whole city on
Right,
the outside.
you know, the only
Our chief-
exceptions is, would be like.
That's not
county-
accurate. We have
but-
roads that are greater than 35
Right,
miles.
like County Road H is 45.
Oh, still in the city limits.
But it's in the
is what
city
you're
limits.
City
So
limits,
is, yes, Highway 67, both north and south. So yes, there are roads that are greater than 35, hence my concern.
saying. Okay. And Chief, just so I understand, would we want to draft it so that they would not be on those roadways with the grader, or just that they wouldn't be able to go those speeds?
They would not be on those roadways.
Understood. Thank you.
Sometimes that 35 mile gets brought up a lot, and I just want to make sure that the board understands that 35, a lot of times it's referenced because it permits you to open roadways that you do not own or maintain, provided they're 35 or less. But if you do in fact own the roads, you maintain them, you can open up any roadways to ATV and UTV traffic. It gives you a unique, yeah. Okay, I just wanted to, sure. It's a mess.
Any other questions or discussion?
I just have a quick question. Are we going to, I'm sorry. Are we, I forget who I'm talking to. Are we going to, like, are you going to drop the ordinance and then we're going to make a decision whether or not we want to go with it?
Right, and we can change, if council doesn't see some things in the ordinance that they don't like, we can change or whatever we have to do before it does get approved.
Before it gets approved, okay,
Yeah, it'll come back to this board before.
okay.
So I'm anticipating I'll create a draft, bring it here for discussion, have that discussion, go back, maybe make some modifications, and then bring one for approval or not.
Or not, yeah, unless they like the first one.
Fingers crossed.
There's a good one to copy in the
Yeah.
packet.
Will do.
Only we don't have a university.
So any other, whoop,
I'm sorry, and Jason, I'm going to leave my card for you so that we can communicate, and if you can help me out.
Will do.
sure, and I'll let, Frank, I know you wanted to say something, I see your hand was up.
Can you come on up to the
It-
podium, Frank? Thank you.
Yeah, just, if you could just state your name for the record too, and
Frank Boggs, 1249 Hickory Lane, Elkhorn. Can we go back to the issue with the speed limit? Few of you know where I live. I would have, if I went and bought a UTV, to get to a road that's 35, I would have to drive on a road that's 45. Is that going to be acceptable?
Could I answer, first of all, I think, Frank, first of all, we don't have any jurisdiction over Highway H. So we would not be able to permit Highway H within the city limits.
So that everybody in Green Acres, Oakwood subdivision
They-
cannot access from their residence to any other part?
Correct, because, yeah, we don't have jurisdiction over Highway H at all. That's still all county responsibility, maintained and otherwise.
So has the county done anything for allowing H to be okay?
So
The only-
if we just real quick, if we pass an ordinance, then the next step would be for getting the county involved
I think,
to help get that
I
done.
think the county is open.
Right,
on
but
that,
having it posted.
Oh,
If I may, though,
Yeah.
you're still gonna run into the concern right now with the town of Geneva, because that jurisdiction would be the town of Geneva's.
Yes, because I think the town of Geneva starts just to the north of Moose Creek, the old Moose Creek. There's a sign that says Geneva Township right there. So we would also have to deal with the Geneva Township ordinances too.
Correct. As the warden has said, the problems throughout the state continue.
Okay, all right, thank you.
thank you, Frank. Council, any further question or discussion before I ask for a vote to move this forward? All those in favor moving forward to city attorney to draft an ordinance?
Aye. Aye.
Vote.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
You know, put me on that eye too.
So we have a 2-2. Is
Yeah.
that what we're saying here? I go, move forward with drafting the ordinance. So 3-2, Mayor broke the vote. Okay,
Thank you, Jason.
thank you. Thank you, Jason, too.
Can I approach? Sure.
Thank you.
You have to have permission.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Next, discussion, or new business, discussion and possible decision regarding proposed contract with Associated Bank to provide the banking service to the city from February 1st, 2024 to January 31st, 2028. Everybody seen that in their packet? Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion to approve, Scott?
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve the proposed contract with Associated Bank. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, just in the future, maybe we should be taking an advanced look at possible other financial institutions before we get caught in a situation like this again. So I would say sometime in 2027, we start researching this.
Any other questions? Discussion? Roll call, please.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Carol Young,
Yes.
Ken Minell.
Yes.
Motion passed for the proposed contract for February 1st, 2024 to January 31st, 2028 with Associated Bank to provide banking service to the city of Elkhorn. Next, discussion and possible decision regarding proposal from Northern Lake Service Incorporated to conduct well testing at Centralia Water Treatment Plant as part of a development of plan for future of the plant if reservoir is unavailable.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Carol Young.
Yes.
Motion passed for the proposal of Northern Lake Service to conduct well testing. Next, we are going to adjourn into closed session, and we will reconvene in a open session for possible action. Do I have a motion to adjourn into closed session?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll go into closed session.
All right, so we've reconvened in open session. It is now 6:37 PM.
Shouldn't Steve sit up at that table?
Yes, if you
Well,
could.
Steve?
Just wait one second, Ken.
Oh, sorry, we have one item
We have one
before.
before that.
All right, I'm sorry.
So first one, we have discussion and possible decision regarding the offer to purchase public property, Lot 67 in the Elkhorn Business Park. Do I have a motion for that offer to purchase
I'll make that motion
with the conditions?
with the conditions that the buyer follow our standard 3 years of substantial construction to initiate within 3 years, otherwise it reverts back, potentially reverts back to the city.
With option, okay. We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion?
Just to clarify, you're asking the city to counter the existing offer to modify it to those conditions?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Ken Minell,
Yes.
Carol Young.
Yes.
Motion passed on the offer purchase on Lot 67. Next, motion to reconsider the request by Steve Smith of North Shore Development LLC for a conditional use permit at 5384 Highway 11, located in the city ETZ in the town of Delavan, to use the property for marine service and off-season storage. Do I have a motion to reconsider the request?
Yes, I'd like to make that motion to reconsider.
We have a motion to reconsider. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed to reconsider the request by Steve Smith. Next, we have discussion and possible decision regarding the request by Steve Smith of North Shore Development LLC for a conditional use permit at 5384 Highway 11, located in the city's ETZ in the town of Delavan, to use the property for marine service and off-season storage. How you doing, Steve? Good, good.
So I'd like to make a motion to change that CPU or CUP with the following conditions for Sundays, that you were able to operate, but no engines, no engine noise, so you're able to sell parts, do boat delivery, boat pickup, et cetera, on Sundays during those normal hours of operation.
So is that your motion?
That is my motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is that,
Clarify, that's all the other previous conditions as well, correct?
And all the standard, yes, all the other ones that were already approved. Yes.
Agreed.
I'm glad you reconsidered this, and looking at the situation, the agreement was, I thought, that I could operate a motor inside a building on Saturdays and Sundays. That's what the ETZ zone agreed upon, and the town of Delavan. I don't need to run motors outside, but and the hours of operation will be from basically, I don't get there at 6 in the morning, but it'd be like 8 o'clock until it could run late, delivering boats out on the lake when people break down. The actual other condition was, I mean, it's up to you guys. The inspection of the property, what is it, every year now? Is that in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that wasn't in the ETZ zone thing at all. Okay, which I don't care, it's your expense. You know, having sending someone out there to do it, which is fine. And I agree that if I'm not conformed, someone, I should be informed. But I plan on conform to everything that I agreed upon. So this, and I've been there 23 years, and I never had a problem until just the last 2.5 years. And when I bought the property from Comfort, because I went into business there, and nobody told me I couldn't do business there for 23 years. Then all of a sudden it became an issue. I think there was a derelict, well, not derelict, but somebody forgot to do their job. They should have, the day I went in there, said, no, you're not allowed to be here, the zoning's wrong. And your elected officials, I'm just voicing my frustration right now. Your elected officials for 23 years never enforced your code that you guys put out, whether it be the town of Delavan, the ETZ zone, or the city of Elkhorn. And there's a word for that too, and Mr. Phillips should know that. It's called estoppel. You can't stop somebody from being in business if an elected official or an appointed official does not do his job for a period of time, and this is 23 years. And I'm not going after anybody, but I could have done that right away. I want to follow the rules. I apply with the zoning people, the town people, and I want to go forward. And the problem in going forward now, I'm a year out again. It cost me more money, the interest cost on business went up, and the price of construction's gone up, plus trying to get someone to do something now. You can prove it today, but I ain't gonna get nothing done for 6-7 months because the contractors are already booked out, because I couldn't give them a guarantee if I'm getting this or not. So I want to thank you for changing that. It really helps me, but I needed to just express my story to why it is. And I'm in a little bit of pain with my shoulder. So whatever you want to do to move forward, I hope the zoning people talk with me when there's a problem, if they see something. And that's the problem that started this. Nobody comes to talk to anybody. If somebody would have said to me, hey, the light on the building's shining, I didn't put it up there, but I could have put a shield on it. That's what started this. The guy's like, your light shines in my building or my house when the leaves are off the tree. And it really was like, well, why did you tell me? I didn't know you were my neighbor. And once again, thanks for reconsidering this, and I appreciate what you've done.
Okay. Well, it's important you agree to it, and you have to say that on record so we can move
Right.
forward. You agree with what we just
Yes,
proposed?
I do. And
Okay.
I guess I have, according to other condition uses I got from townships and the county, I have to sign a paper once you give me the condition use that I agree to these terms. So once I get that paper, I'll just give it to my lawyer, let him look at it and say, okay, fine. I agree to it, but I won't start construction until that's signed.
Right. Just for clarification, so the council knows, the current CUP that you previously approved said that the on-site hours of operation shall be from 8 AM to 6 PM, 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday. It doesn't say whether or not, you know, that was inside or outside, so that just says hours of operation. So your proposed condition about no operation of engines on site would be
On Sunday.
for the, whether inside or
Or and
outside.
outdoor?
Yeah.
Right.
I just want to make sure that's clear so that Mr. Smith understands when he's acknowledging that he agrees with that, that that's what he's agreeing to.
But he does have hours of operation from 8 to 6 on Sunday, though, for dropping off or
Right.
selling parts.
Right.
Correct, yes.
The
So
one
what you're
day of
saying-
the, hold on, the one day of the week that you wouldn't be able to run engines inside or outside would be Sunday. Every other day of the week you can.
Okay,
Do you agree to that?
yes.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Yes.
Scott McClory,
Yes.
Carol Young,
Yes.
Ken Minell.
Yes.
Motion passed on the reconsider and the new conditional use permit with the conditions listed. Next, I have a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
I'll
Do I have
second.
a second?
Thank you once again.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.